Hello guys! And I really thought this was going to be the last time I talk about Artisan AI, but I feel like it's kind of important to kind of at least chit chat or talk about this. Because I just kind of found out and realized that a lot of people don't really know about this, only those that happen to be deeply entrenched in AI. So Artisan AI, and I'll go ahead and bring this up. Just to clarify, this is an Android app, but the version of Artisan AI that I am running is the one where I'm actually making the final finishing touches to it. I cleaned up the UI. I basically took off options that I felt like was bloating the application more than helping. So my goal is to basically get the code to a much more manageable all around. It doesn't go past 2,000 lines, but there's quite a bit of cleaning up to do, and I'm in the process of doing just that. I have it down to about close to 1,800 lines. My goal is anywhere between 1,700, even downwards of 1,500, so that way it runs efficiently and fast on all different types of devices. So that's what what am I doing on my application right now is that. So this looks a little different from what you saw in the past. Just a few things I do have to do before we do anything else. Let me put in this link here. And then we are going to do this. So that way I can connect to my models. And we're just gonna check those out. And then it's gonna be Kasumi Micro. And this guy's gonna be the prompt and SEO. And I'm gonna be the listen title. All right, so Artisan. I need to kind of explain something. So, like I said, it runs different local AI models, right? And LS Studio is just one way to inference them. I will be making sure that it's compatible with Ollama. And I will be testing this application with all sorts of different local models. For my demonstrations and stuff, I've been using IBM's models. They have been unbelievably reliable. I really love their models, but it's very important to kind of test the application with different models because all models are not created equal. They might interpret the system prompt or instructions differently from IBM. So I have to see how they respond and see if there's anything I need to adjust in the code itself, or perhaps through LM Studio, aka the underlying model. But that's another time and day. So the Deterministic Agentic Workflow. I'm going to explain this in plain English. What does it mean? So for this, when I had started to code Artisan AI, I was thinking about trying to make the construction of the prompts and SEO data and all that as concrete as possible. And because I've had interacted with AI so much, I noticed a lot of patterns, and a lot of it starts with cloud models. Everyone probably knows this. When you talk to a model for a very long time and it has a massive context window, and then you ask it something about whatever you said maybe a couple hours ago, it forgot about it. But that's because the context window, it's starting to close, basically. And that was one of my biggest worries. Because as you can see, starting from the list creator, and for those that don't really understand the logic behind Artisan AI, I highly recommend watching, I believe it's called the Final Deep Dive. That's what I thought was going to be the last video for Artisan AI, but no, it isn't. Watch that one. I go into like a really basic deep dive of the logic behind Artisan AI, and I try to make it as approachable as possible because I know not everyone comes from a super tech background, and so they're not going to understand the underlying language in this field. And so I do my best to just try to be the translator, if you will. But starting with a list creator, I put the max as 50 because that's what my computer can handle. I'm gonna increase that limit to 100 or 2,000 because I do have plans to, basically get this production ready, clean up the code, make sure, see how it reacts with different models, and then have it as a professional .executional file and have it hosted somewhere. I'm definitely thinking virtual as one of them, perhaps on my website as well. I am planning on hosting / showcasing Metaspin. It's actually one of the first applications I have made since my transition from what I was doing, which is mainly graphic arts and design, to AI. But anyways, the list creator, 50. Now, the way the application handles it is that it basically sends the prompt itself, right, to the smallest model, which is Kasumi Micro. Because of how simple the prompt is, I decided to let it do the entire thing in one go. You have to understand, this is just, the input parameters are basically my prompt. And then the result is just a list. But then when I realized, and I kept watching the models run, you know, the prompts and everything, I kept watching LM Studio and I kept watching how the application reacts with the models running on LM Studio. And then I noticed something. Instead of the entire list from this model, right, then becoming an entire prompt. So basically we're asking, you know, Tiny, ask the prompt creator, yo, can you take the list that we created of these, I don't know, 5 different hamburgers as a really stupid example and make 5 artistic prompts out of them? Imagine if I was trying to do that with 50 and that was just one prompt. The context window is gonna, it's gonna shoot to the moon. Like the context link would have to be, and then you have to waste so much RAM now. What I decided to do is to chop them up into separate prompts. The custom instructions, which are coded in the back end, are very clear guidelines. It's not even about personality. Oh yeah, you're this smart person that works in the CEO company, blah, blah. No, it's more of, hey, follow these instructions, do this and this and this and this. Because each prompt is separated and how small of a request it is, there is zero risk of the AI drifting or just pretending it forgot, like all sorts of stuff. And so I decided to do that. And because my models are so small and I have a pretty decent rig, it's not gonna kill the GPU in any way. It's hardly gonna affect it. The same thing happens with the title creator, which once again, if you have no idea of the logic behind the application, I highly recommend watching the final deep dive video that I made. It's either going to be on the main website, the XYZ version, or the sister website, which is card with the 2 Rs.co. The same thing with the title creator. Even though it's really simple, I decided to separate the prompt like that because it will be a smaller model working it. And then with the SEO creator, which I had picked IBM for that, it's once again 5 separate prompts. So let's go back to the hamburger sample. Now, let's take a look at the SEO options. Oh, there's not really a lot of options. Well, here's the thing. The SEO will have to do the tags. And let's kind of flip it like this. The tags. And since it's Redbubble, that's 10 tags, right? Then it has to sit here and think about, okay, let me see what the user's option now. Oh, they picked bisexual, so they want to make sure that the title, tags, and descriptions have some LGBTQ plus elements in them. Oh, okay, so it's anime. Okay, so now I gotta make sure the title, tags, descriptions fit into the anime genre. And oh, they picked gaming. Okay, so now I gotta make sure that everything fits in within gaming. And oh, they gave me other instructions if I were to put them in there. Great, now I gotta think about that. Can you imagine if I was so lazy and just sent the whole list over to the prompt the AI that's supposed to be running as the prompt creator as one whole prompt, as one whole context. Zoom, I mean, no, we can't have that. We can't have that because it leaves room for errors and hallucinations. So I separate them into separate prompts, and I hardly have any issues. But that's just an even deeper dive on Artisan. I just wanted to make sure the system was robust enough. I will be doing more updates to it. That includes saving states in the background. So what I mean is, let's just say one of these guys, the prompt creator, they're working. The list creator is done. They're working, and then the power goes out. I want to make sure that the application keeps track of who was doing what at the time. So that way, let's just say you were almost done. You were on the SEO creator, and then, I don't know, you forgot to pay the bill and they cut off the electricity or something. You can go back at any time, right? And you can simply, it's probably going to be on the left in the UI, probably upper left or something, a button where it says last save state, and it will show you which role was operating at the time and what time and date. That's another thing we're going to be adding as well for the text documents and outputs, and whether you want to continue that. All you have to do is select it, press start, and it would skip these because these were already done. These were already saved. That's another thing too. Because they're isolated from one another and they're not interconnected and they're not the same model, like it's not one giant prompt, there is almost zero risk of you having to start over. That is the literal definition of orchestration. So, or AI orchestration in this case. So you can just press the button, you press start, and oh wait, these guys were already done, so we're going to go straight to this, and it just either continues or start over. But that means you only have to wait for this guy to finish and then for this guy to do his job. But basically I build it to be as resilient as possible. But anyways, it's just another, I call it a quick dive of Artisan AI. Thanks for watching. Check out my other content as well if you happen to be a recruiter. Well, hi, how you doing? I am looking for a job, or perhaps a team or a founder for Local First AI. Check out that version of the website, which is local first with a number AI.xyz, or just check out the sister version of the website. Take care of yourself.